Good morning. It is day 41, which means we're in Psalm 41. And this psalm today really focuses on the truth that God is our helper. David really focuses on some life circumstances where we can really experience God's help in a unique, meaningful way. He talks about times of weakness, times of sickness. And he also talks about dealing with enemies, dealing with frenemies, which is, of course, a phrase that wasn't coined back then, but we know what it means today. And interestingly enough, in this chapter, it's actually quoted in one of the most well-known stories of betrayal. And that is, of course, Judas and Jesus. Jesus actually quotes David in John chapter 13. So if you get a chance, check that out. But this chapter, Psalm 41, it's kind of complex in its structure. And so just to kind of wrap my mind around it, hopefully it helps you. I kind of just broke it down to a couple of different sections. The first section, verses 1 through 3, just talks about God being near to the needy. The verses 4 through about 9 talk about just David's experiences, his hurtful experiences. The next couple of verses up until verse 12 talks about David's assurance that God would vindicate him. And then the last verse 13, is like a doxology. I don't know if you know this, but the Psalms are actually divided into 5 books. And this chapter is the end of the first book. And each book ends with kind of this doxology of sorts. So this chapter ends with praise. And I love it because it's kind of bookended. We start with blessed in the verse of this chapter and end with blessed as well. And overall, I am just so struck by this chapter, and it kind of focusing on just the care that God has for his people. I can't help but think of just our current climate that we find ourselves in, with the COVID pandemic, with political tensions, with racial tensions, with all sorts of things that are on the news, things that we're being exposed to are actually really exposing us as a church, as a people. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not always a good thing, especially when we're not exhibiting Christ-like behavior or Christ-like perspectives. But it is a great thing when we are, because we're called to be a light. We're called to be that city that's set up on a hill. And, sometimes the light in darkness can be a bit jarring. It can kind of hurt your eyes, but it is ultimately healing. It's ultimately beneficial, because in God's light, we see light. And so as it pertains to the things that are going on in around us, the pain that we're experiencing, the pain that we see around us, let's be about our Father's business. Let's be that light. Let's be, as a people, the essential church. And so let's be about our Father's business. I don't know about you, but I'm encouraged today to exhibit and extend the care and concern that God has exhibited toward us, his people. So let's do that.